not particularly fond of the cold, but we had a cold front come through, and the temperatures dropped down. It's in the 30s right now. It's supposed to drop down into the 20s later. But the one thing I do like about the cold is we get to use the wood stove. And using the wood stove means we get to cook with the wood stove. So, yeah, got a nice batch of pinto beans going there, and got some bacon in there, and it just wouldn't be right making pinto beans if we didn't have cornbread with it. So we're going to bake some cornbread on the wood. Cooking cornbread on the wood stove is just as easy as cooking it any other time, or baking it, I guess we would say. So, same recipe, 1 cup of cornmeal, 1 cup of flour, half a cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons baking powder, a half a teaspoon salt, or 1 teaspoon, whatever's you like to do, 1 egg, 1 cup of milk, and 1/3 cup of oil. Actually, let me double check that oil. I usually use 1/3, but I think it might actually be 1/4, so let me check. Yes, it is 1/4 cup of oil. And how I do it is I put all the dry ingredients together. So I've already put in the flour and the cornmeal, and there goes the sugar. Then what I do is I take the wet mixture, as in the milk, the egg, and the oil, and I measure them all out in a measuring cup, because you're supposed to slightly beat the egg. So I put 1 cup of milk in the measuring cup first, then add my 1/4 cup of oil, and then finally the egg, and then give it a little whisk and mix it in. So when I get there, I'll show you. So we need 1 cup of milk. I've got the hiccups all of a sudden, so bear with me. Okay, that's 1 cup of milk. And then we need a 1/4 cup, excuse me, 1/4 cup of oil. Okay, and a 1/4 cup of oil, so off we go. I use olive oil, but it's up to you. Alright, so that. And then we'll add 1 egg in and mix it up a little bit. Now the egg is dropped in, so we'll just beat that just a little bit. I don't want to break up the yolk. And while I'm doing this, I've actually got my cast iron skillet on the wood stove heating up. And I'm going to put the lid on the wood stove and heat it up. Heating up the skillet, the cast iron skillet, and which is what I'm going to make the cornbread in today. And the lid, it's like preheating the oven basically. We know the oven is up to temp, but we need the top and bottom warm, or hot already. And then what I will do is I will put some coals on later, but I'll show you when we get there. Alright, we're just going to add that in. And as we know, the key is once it is wet, do not overmix. So just mix it until it is just mixed. Okay? And this is a little bit hard because I'm doing this with one hand, but you get the picture. Okay, I'm going to turn it off so I can finish stirring this without making a mess here. How good this is showing up, but there's the cast iron skillet, and there's the lid. Okay, so now I'm just going to put my cornbread mix in. Okay, cornbread mix is in the skillet, and now I'm going to take my heated lid and I'm just going to put it on top. I'm going to let it bake for a few minutes just like that. It's going to hold the heat in pretty well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab just a couple of coals and I'm going to put them on top, and you'll see that's why the lid kind of looks like that. So what it does is it helps the top brown better. It'll bake without doing that, but you know, like I said, just a coal or two, kind of spread them around, help it brown better. And I got the coals on top. I waited about 5 minutes, let it bake about 5 minutes without the coals on top, and then I put the coals on top, just like Dutch oven cooking basically, except you're doing it indoors. Now, you know, the coals put off carbon monoxide, so it's not something you want to do for like long periods of time, but this only bakes for about 15 minutes at the most. So 15 to 20 minutes. Usually about 15 minutes it's done because of the heat and everything. So anyway, just so you know, again, carbon monoxide, keep that in mind. Don't do it for long periods of time. And make sure, if you'll note, I have my front door open because with the wood stove, it keeps the house really, really warm. Right now, the temp in the house is about 80 degrees. And the temp outside is 32. That's how well the wood stove works. So, just, again, like I said, I'll let you see what it looks like when we get it done. There you have it. Cornbread off of the wood stove, and you'll see there's one little spot there that almost looks burnt because that's where that bigger chunk of coal was. So keep that in mind. It just got a little spot there, but I started kind of smelling it and I rearranged them, and other than that, beautiful brown, ready to eat. It's gonna go really awesome with the pinto beans in here. Pinto beans with some peppered bacon.